when we were working there, and we always said, hey, if the train ever derails here, we might as well kiss our butts goodbye.
Yeah,
like
because
that
it's so
became
close.
really close.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that just failed, what, I don't know, like a quarter mile?
If it had, half the town would be gone because there's 2 gas stations right there.
Yeah, then they would have blown. Yeah.
If you like my videos, please share, like, and subscribe. And leave a comment if you would. It helps the algorithm so that the video spreads worldwide and still shines a light on our little town of East Palestine, Ohio, now that the media and the politicians are gone. And if you would, check out our Facebook group, East Palestine Off the Rails. Get the truth from the people that live here. And if you would be so kind, please donate, no matter how small, to our Give, Send, Go or our GoFundMe site for the residents of East Palestine, Ohio, at East Palestine Off the Rails. We are trying to help relocate people or at least give them some air and water purification systems. Thanks for watching.
Oh, boy. All right, well, I'll start this. So I've known Brenda for many years, but say your full name because it's long now, right?
No, not really.
Okay, what?
My name is Brenda Toot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, then I'm going to start that over.
Okay.
Because on Facebook, it's real long.
It's Brenda K. Thomas Toot.
Yeah, there's like 4 names.
Yeah, I put it like that so people would know.
Okay, so it's Brenda Toot.
Yes.
All right, we were just talking about your mother-in-law. So, Terrell.
Yes.
Terrell Toot?
Yes.
She's a hoot. So
oh,
rhymes.
no doubt.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
She is.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the derailment and your experience. I stopped at 7 o'clock at the place that you used to work at the Marathon for a lottery ticket and gas on that Friday night on the way home from work. I don't remember if you were working that night. Were you working?
I didn't get there until around, it was 8 o'clock. I had to go to an inn and do the night drops.
Okay, so you were there.
Yes.
Okay, and you were there when the train derailed?
I had just left.
Oh, you just left. Okay. So tell me about that night. So you just left. Did you hear that the train derailed?
I didn't hear anything. I was driving home and I don't remember anything. And then when I got home and I turned on the news, there it was.
So you heard about it on the news. Did you have to work the next day?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and tell me about that.
It was a harrowing experience. I'm driving to work and I get stopped in a roadblock and I tell them that where I'm working and he says, well, you can't go there.
This is police or something? Okay.
So my boss says, oh no, you have to go there. So I turned around and I took a different way to work and they let me through.
Okay, so keep in mind, where she used to work is very close to the tracks. In fact, I'm going to show some video of how close it actually is. But it was a marathon?
Yes.
Marathon station. And it's where you would get gas. So I'm guessing the boss would make sure that the gas station is open. So, and they may not have known the seriousness of the actual event at that point.
Correct. I went the next morning and the smell was horrendous. I could smell the smell before I even hit Bacon Avenue. So, and I took Bacon all the way in. And then, like I said, I got turned around and had to go back the other way.
So, no, wait a second. They stopped you first.
Yes.
And then you found a way in. Did you make it all the way into work?
I did. I got out of the car and talked to the police officer and he let me through. But unknowing, and I don't believe my boss knew we were within the 1 mile zone.
Now, the second police officer you ran into, was that right in town?
No, that was up on 14.
Okay.
Going in.
So that's a major highway that runs past our town of Palestine. Okay, so you came into town. You got to work at about what time?
I started work at 4:30.
Okay. Oh, so by that time, you would have thought, I mean, people were already working an earlier shift? Or did you just open 4:30 in the morning?
I opened at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, I thought you meant 4:30 in the afternoon.
4:30 in the morning.
Okay, so you probably got home like 8:30 or 9 o'clock that night. You heard about the derailment. You went in at 8 o'clock, correct?
No, I went in
on
at
Friday
4:30.
Night?
I went in at Friday night. I went in to do the night drop. So I took care of that and went home. But I had no clue until the next morning that this had happened.
Yeah, so you got there early in the morning, opened up. And tell me about that. You talk about the smell.
The smell was terrible. I can't even describe the smell that was there. I mean, as soon as you open the door, it just hit you in the face. It was horrible.
Could you smell it inside, or when you
Yes.
closed? Okay, you could smell it inside the store.
And you couldn't open the doors because you're going to get more, or it was just a little nuts.
So you couldn't open the doors because you're saying what, the smoke would come in?
You would get that smell from outside because we didn't know at that time what was floating around out there.
Okay. Did you have many customers that morning?
We had several, but they had already they had evacuated, the areas.
Yes, close to the tracks.
Yeah, my brother-in-law was one of them. So.
Okay, so you're working that day. So did you have any symptoms early on, anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, what did you feel?
I had bloody noses. I had.
Now, was that later on, or was that right away?
The thing right away was the nausea.
No, okay.
I mean, I get out of my car and actually vomit.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad.
So was that morning or a different day?
It was like within that first week.
Okay, so let's back up to that first day. You're working there. And so there were just some people here and there because a lot of people were evacuated, right? Was it the big burn or the bomb, chemical bomb, I call it? Is that when the store, there's a famous store, I'm not going to mention, it's a chain gas station, convenience store right across the street from where she worked. They at one point did they evacuate them?
They evacuated them 3 days before they evacuated us.
So was that prior to them setting off the burn?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about that. So now did you work your full shift that Saturday from 4:30 until
11:30? Yes.
Okay. And then somebody came and relieved you?
Yes.
All right. Did you work Sunday?
Yes.
Okay. So as the vinyl chloride and all the other chemicals are burning, you're in that area working.
Yes.
Okay. So it's Monday. Do you have anything to add about that weekend?
It was just, I was scared. I was petrified. I mean, I had no, and the manifest wasn't available, so nobody really knew what was going on at that point. So it was horrifying.
So I remember at that point thinking that they probably knew what was on that train pretty quickly, and I wondered why we hadn't gotten any information. I think it was about Sunday afternoon that they told us at least vinyl chloride was on the train. And then it was another week or so before they started rolling out other chemicals. So now, did you work Monday?
I did not. That was the day they evacuated.
Okay, so Monday about 3 p.m., well, they wanted to set the bomb off, or the chemical controlled burn. They wanted to set that off earlier in the day so that the earlier that it was, the higher that it would go in the sky before it inverted. They got a late start. I think it was lit off after 3 o'clock, maybe around 4 o'clock, and it just kind of hung over East Palestine. Did you worked Tuesday morning? Did you come in the next day?
No, we were evacuated at that point.
Oh, okay. So you were evacuated. And when did you come back into town?
The day that they opened the evacuation, the day that they were calling everybody back from the evacuation.
And I get a little confused. Do you remember, was that Wednesday or Thursday?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was a Thursday, but I'm not really sure.
I think it was. I think it was Thursday afternoon. So then you had to work on that Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead, tell me about that day, from what you recall.
It was still pretty. I mean, the smell was still bad in there. The boss did hire someone to come in and clean us and whatnot. But I mean, there was so much stuff in the air and so much you could see them. It was scary. I mean, you could see them moving things and doing this, that, and the other. There was dust. I mean, it was horrible.
Also, the cleaners were in the
street cleaners were going and the dust was flying out. So we don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I did notice, like, that day I'm sitting there waiting to go in because I am so dreading going in. And I'm watching the train go by and I'm seeing the placards with the flame on them. And it's like, okay, we just went through this. Why are you moving this through now? And why did it only take 3 days when you haven't done anything yet? Mm-hmm. It was just amazing to me that they would want to move that quickly, but they understand money is money.
Yeah. And to your recollection, when you came back to work, Do you know if any? Did you see any EPA testing around your area?
Yes.
Oh, so they did test your store for air quality or something before they
Yes.
let you back in, and they said it was safe.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I think a lot of people are already aware that nearly as soon as they lifted the evacuation, the trains started running through. And I remember I can hear the trains from here, from my house, and you can hear the whistles blow. I'd never heard so many trains go through because I'm assuming it was backed up.
It was
Because
backed up.
yeah, and so what do you think about the amount of trains that came through at that time?
I think they should have cleared those tracks. I think they should have not let anybody go through. Well, they, at first they did not because they were, trying to get things out of the way. But I'm just appalled the fact that they had those open so quickly. I think that, a shorter train, if they're, maybe do a test run or something, find out how it's going.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was horrifying. I'd stand at the register, punch in my numbers and whatnot. And every time a train went by, my knees just buckled because it was terrifying.
Yeah. So also you're going to see how I'm going to say frighteningly close the Marathon gas station is to the tracks. I'll overlay it on the video here. All the years that I've stopped there, I've always felt bad for the people working in there because it seems like the trains are less than a car's length from the back of the building. I'll actually measure it tonight when I show you the video. So here's the Marathon station where Brenda worked. That's the gas station. And here is the store. And here's the track. And there's the back of the building. So I'm going to come around. So here is the track. There's the back of the building. Make sure I don't see any trains coming. So this track is, that track is 7.5 feet from the back of this Marathon. That is insane. But it shakes the entire small building
Yes,
that they
it does.
work in. So it's pretty crazy. So you were working that Thursday afternoon when you came back after they lifted the evacuation.
After they lifted the evacuation.
Yeah, trains are flying through. Did you at that point notice any smell then? Was the smell gone?
No, the smell was not gone.
Mm-hmm.
The smell was by no means gone. And the trains, I noticed, because they were so much slower than they were before. So, I mean, whether it was because, the feds are in town or whatnot, they were going so much slower. And I even noticed up until 3 weeks ago, when I left that job over there, they would go really slow during the day, and at night they would barrel through.
Yeah, I have some film. I put it on a YouTube short at one point. I noticed that too. Now, some people say they go slow because they were going slow because the people work in the daytime, and they were going fast because they weren't working there. But we know that there were people working all through 24-hour shifts, as far as I know.
Yes.
Anybody that lives in this town or lived in this town knows how fast those trains fly through.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because I think a lot of people noticed it was such an abrupt change, how slow, like a turtle's pace, they were crawling through when the media was here.
Yes.
And then when they left, I have video of said, hey, things are back to normal as they're flying. It was at your Marathon. I went to get gas and the train was just flying through. And I said, well, things are back to normal again. And this was at night.
I stopped for gas in the middle of East Palestine, right by the crash site. Now that the media is gone, trains are flying through like they always have.
So I felt, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but I kind of, as you're saying, under cover of darkness, they were just flying through as normal again.
Yes.
So did you notice anything when the trains would go by those first early days? Would it kick up any dust or would it anything like that? Or you don't really know?
So sure if it kicked up dust, but I noticed that the whistle at the train stops, at the crossings were a lot more prominent. You could hear them. Usually you maybe heard once or twice, and now they just lay on it when they go through.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I've noticed that too, that it's more, it seems like they honk them more, which I guess is good, but it's different. So
it is different.
were they supposed to do that before and they're doing it now? Were they not supposed to do it before? I'm not sure, but that seems like a change to me for
I
sure.
do believe they are supposed to signal before they come to crossing, but I don't know what the protocol is for that.
Mm-hmm. You came back the day when they lifted the evacuation. You worked that day. Did you yourself work on a daily basis after that, or did you work a few days a week, or what was going on there?
I was pretty much full time there. I was the assistant manager there, so yeah, I was required to be there.
All right, so now we're at the Thursday, the day everybody started to come back to their homes. Did your business start to pick up then? Or?
It was pretty slow.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people still stayed out of town.
Yes, and I can't blame them.
All right, so you're back to work. Let's get to the point where somebody, the store across from you, which is like a major chain,
yes,
convenience store, gas station place. What was this about them being evacuated and you not being evacuated?
I don't know, but I remember
talk about that.
I remember seeing, like the fire chief coming through, and they stopped there, and I got all happy because I thought, oh yeah, we're going to get evacuated and I'm going to be able to go home.
Now, was this before when was this?
This was before the evacuation. And let me tell you this. And I thought, oh, this is exciting. We'll get to go home. Well, he came over and I'm smiling. He said, oh, are you closing us down? And he says, no. But I watched those people across the street at that big chain store leave.
So it may have been on their own volition. They may have left themselves, or were they evacuated?
They were evacuated.
Oh, they were. Now, when I say across the street, I literally mean across the street. I mean, just probably 40, 50 feet.
Probably so.
Yeah. So there was some kind of line, and you're actually closer to the tracks than that other store. So that store was evacuated, but you were not. Any clue why? Did you ever ask?
No, I don't have any clue. I was afraid for my health at that point. I was scared.
You're looking at the Marathon gas station where Brenda worked. I'm standing in the Circle K right across the street that was evacuated. You can see the railroad crossing right to the left of the Marathon, and the tracks are right behind.
So that was about what day was that? So the burn was...
we went back on Thursday.
Okay.
Okay, the evacuation happened, what was it, Monday?
Evacuation happened Monday, yes.
Okay, I do believe they've evacuated them a couple days before the big evacuation.
Okay, so you're talking about, so the derailment was Friday night. The trains were burning really bad Friday into Saturday. They got the fire under control. There was a little flare up on Sunday. Are you talking in between that time over the weekend? So the other stores evacuated and you were not.
That's correct.
Okay. So you came back. Talk about how you felt, some of the things you went through.
I don't know if I have post-traumatic stress or not.
I think we all do.
But I was frightened. When you hear about all the chemicals and everything that was in the air and that had been on that train, you wonder what your health's going to be 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. I have grandchildren. I want to be around for my grandchildren. I don't want to be faced with a cancer scare because Norfolk Southern didn't do their maintenance on their trains the way they should have.
And I have said through this entire thing that, that's one thing that happened, whether it was an accident, whether it was poor maintenance, whatever, but it's what they did after as well, placing the tracks over contaminated soil, not even cleaning up and just running the trains right through, actually spreading that contamination all through the Pennsylvania and whatever states those trains were going through.
Yes.
When did your symptoms begin? Did you feel anything initially when, let's say, you came to work on 4 o'clock on 4 a.m. on Saturday?
Yes.
Did you, other than the smell, anything?
I had a runny nose. My eyes were burning. My throat was scratchy. I wasn't generally just not feeling well.
Mm-hmm.
And that just continued. The next day I came in and same thing. And then a couple days down the line, I got the nausea and getting out of my car. And I mean, it's just been something I know even at night when I would go home, and I live in New Waterford. So when I would go home at night, my nose would still be running, but at night I would develop a nosebleed.
Yeah, a lot of.
Yes, and the headaches.
Now, you also said you vomited?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was at work, or where
This
was
was
this?
at work. I got out of the car as soon as my feet hit the ground. I got dizzy and I went in and actually I got sick.
So when did you stop? When did you end your employment at the
It
uh,
was
gas
it
station?
it was the second week of April.
So this was um, April, second week of April. So you worked there another 8 weeks,
Yes.
right? Another 8 or 9 weeks after the actual derailment. And how had you been? How had you been through that period of time? Were you getting better since the bomb was further
Um,
away from? Well, I call it the chemical bomb.
I know.
Okay, that's a controlled burn. Well, controlled burn isn't correct either. So if they're going to use an incorrect
I
terminology,
don't think
I'll
that was
use
controlled,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I up until the time I left, I was having the same symptoms. Now I'm still having some symptoms, but not as severe.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yes. I don't know. I am really disgruntled for the fact that, I think it's wonderful that they're doing things for people in the East Palestine area. I think it's wonderful that people have come forward and did donations and whatnot for the East Palestine people, but they've totally forgotten about the people who work in East Palestine
Yeah.
or worked in East Palestine. And we didn't get any services. And then I mean, it's not about the money, it's about our health.
Yeah. And I would think the recognition that you did breathe those chemicals in for how long your shift was. I mean, how long were you working?
7.5 hours.
7.5 hours. And you've been working there. Well, initially you were right there and you were not evacuated at first.
Right.
And you're very close. And then you continue to work there another 7-8 weeks. Yeah. Are you still not getting no recognition?
No, nothing.
And I heard that from other workers that came into town as well.
I mean, it's not, I mean, I understand I am not a resident of East Palestine, but you know what? I feel like I was part of their community because I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I expected any glory or any monetary anything. It's just that I just expected, like, you know what? Okay, you've been exposed. Here, go get this test.
So the chemicals don't know whether you live here or not, right?
That's very true.
Yeah. So when you say, well, here, go get this test, actually, you and I had talked about testing, and you said, and it is true, since you live in New Waterford, which is another town over, probably from where you worked at the gas station, the New Waterford itself. I mean, what are you talking about? Probably 8 or 9 miles, maybe.
Yes.
And then I don't know how far you live in the Waterford. I would think as you get a little further away, your body's going to start detoxing and getting rid of things. But in the meantime, you were working there, and there are still people that work there during the whole situation, and they're still working.
Yeah.
So those people that come from out of town that work in our town, I think everybody that would want it, I think, needs tests. Now, you and I, the reason I talked about us talking is we talked about testing.
Yes.
And the vinyl chloride and the benzene, as you stay away, would dissipate from your body. But I think that you should have been tested from the CDC from the very beginning. A lot of our people should. Did you go to talk to any doctor, even just about symptoms or anything right initially after the?
Yes, as after a few days after the bomb, I developed a bladder infection. So I told my doctor that I was exposed, but they didn't know what to send me for, so they would not send me for testing.
Do you happen to remember at that time if you talked about your headaches or your vomiting or your scratchy throat or your sore throat?
I told them all of that, but they still didn't know what to test
They
for.
didn't know what to do. Yeah. So here's another example of the CDC, who actually would know what to do. We not only the residents of East Palestine, but those who are coming into town kind of got forgotten. So you've never had a physical. Did you do blood work at that? Do you remember at the doctor's appointment?
They did do some blood work, but they weren't looking for chemicals.
Okay. And so one of your concerns is that you've been kind of forgotten and the people that come into town. Anything else that you want to talk about with the?
I personally, I don't believe that Norfolk is being 100% honest with us.
In what way?
Everything's okay. I saw your video of the creek water and whatnot. No, it's not okay. There's obviously something going on, and how many years is this going to go on for these poor people in this town?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the creeks are still highly contaminated. That's not just me with the videos. The experts that are still. I think there's one in town today, and he posted a picture of the oily,
Yeah.
purpley substance that comes out of the banks. So they're still highly contaminated. I know they were kind of pushing that things were really good, and that would drive me back into the creeks.
But what about, like, I'm worried about water tables, and how is that going to affect people's wells? I have a well. Do you? Do you have a well?
Oh yeah, we have a well.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I won't drink anything out of mine.
We're still cooking and drinking out of bottled water, and when friends would come over from different parts of the country, they would say, "Oh, your water's so good, your spring water, the well water." And it's a shame. We're not only just drinking out of it, we're cooking out of it too. Now you're just drinking out of it. You're cooking in your well water.
I'm not, but I am. I do take a shower.
Same. What are you gonna do?
I mean, I don't have enough bottled water to give myself a shower, so.
I could be wrong. Nobody knows, but I'm thinking at this point everything is okay with our water. I'm thinking what is going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And the scary thing is nobody knows. Even the experts don't know.
That's very true. I know one of our main concerns at my home is we're sheep farmers.
I did not know that.
We were worried about our sheep, our lambs, because it was lambing season about the time that all of this was happening.
I'm not sure what that means. They're going to be born?
They're being born,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's for my husband's family. That's their moneymaker. And we were worried about the lambs. Are they contaminated? Are they okay? They seem okay. So, I mean, we have chickens on our farm. Are our eggs okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not even sure that they're testing in New Waterford. Maybe. Do you mean now there it wouldn't be from the water? It would be from that toxic cloud.
Yes. And you know what? When that toxic cloud went off, I stood in my backyard and I watched that. So I did see it. We live on a hill, so I did see it. I actually live closer to Rogers.
Okay.
So
which is to the west.
We live on a nice big hill. We saw the plume of smoke and everything. So it's like, we didn't imagine it. It was really there.
Yeah. Yes. And it's funny that morning. So the next morning after the big chemical bomb went off, if anybody watching has ever seen the air surface maps, it was crazy because it was zero wind in East Palestine and it hung there for an hour or two. And then the wind kicked up really badly and it went east, right into Darlington, Eden, New Galley. And then it hung there. It just blew in there for like 4 hours until 10 or 11 o'clock. And then it swung violently around and went to North Lima and it went to Youngstown and probably through your area. I'm not quite sure. But when we woke up the next morning, because we stayed in North Lima, we got out of here, which is near Youngstown, Ohio. There was, and in fact, I'll throw this in the video. There was, all I can describe it as it looked like a big, thick anaconda, like a big snake. It was a black cloud, but it wasn't round. It looked like it was miles long. It was a black cloud, and the sky was clear, and it hung very low in the sky, and that was all over to the west, about maybe North Lima is 10, 15 miles, and it was against a blue sky, and this black cloud was just hanging in the sky, maybe about 100 feet high. So it went, this whole area almost like a clock. It went around like the hands of a clock that entire day and night. So you were worried about your animals. Everything seems okay at this point? At this point, yes. Okay. And what are your main concerns? Do you still have concerns? I do have concerns because it's in the future thing. What has this done to us? What's it done to you? Don't know.
Exactly. And that fear of the unknown is very, very strong.
So you were here for about 2 months, breathing things in. And while you were here as well, and again, you're going to see how close she was to the tracks. Those chemicals were still there. It was only about a month in that they were either told, Norfolk Southern was told, or I remember Alan Shaw said, no, we weren't told. We decided we were going to dig them up ourselves. They're running the trains over the contaminated liquid and soil. And 4 weeks in, they start digging them up, and that's when they start releasing more vinyl chloride and butyl acrylate in the air. So you were still working that for another month. Yeah.
What's really sad is the fact that, this happened, but why would you put clean soil over contaminated soil and act like nothing is wrong?
Money, I guess. We're getting the trains rolling, right?
Yeah, money.
Are you aware to this day, it is, I don't know, is it 12, 13 weeks out? I'm not quite sure. The burn pit was still not cleaned. Were you aware of that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, they covered the burn pit. They were saying, okay, let's cover that and fix it after we get. And you would think that they would try to get in a real utopian perfect society, they wouldn't be running trains through there. They'd reroute them or something. Right. But the trains got to roll. So their main priority, even with cleaning up the contaminants under the track, was getting the tracks running. Note that this day, the burn pit is still not clean, and all those chemicals did not burn off. Per the EPA, there's still thousands of gallons of vinyl chloride and chemicals under where they capped it off.
I believe that.
Now, I believe they capped it off because as they're working, they don't want that dissipating into the air. And then the land slopes, and they're saying that a lot of chemicals also went into the land right there. So, as they're cleaning that and you were still here, there were still chemicals elsewhere in the land as well that haven't even been addressed yet. So you had good cause to worry.
Mm-hmm. I want to be around for my grandkids.
Yeah.
I want to be around, I want to be around another 40 years. I don't think I'm going to make it 40 years, but I'd like to be around another 40 years.
I think it was negligence, a lot that was done. Just to make you feel at ease, you've got the exposure and then you have duration. You're smart because you got out of town. Yeah. You took another job, which you actually enjoy more.
I do.
And you've removed yourself from the situation. And there's still a lot of chemicals in this town they're still digging up and they're coming out of the air.
Sadly, I liked my job up until that point. I had been with that company for 10 years.
See, I didn't realize that. You worked there that long?
I worked at one of their other gas stations at one point. So I was with this company for 10 years. I loved my job. My thought was I was going to retire from there. So not only has Norfolk possibly stolen my health, they stole something that I really enjoyed from me and forced me to go somewhere else to find, but I do like the job I have now.
So that's so important you say that, because a lot of people say when they hear people are getting sick in town, there's comments on YouTube, hey, just move, get out of there. People there's generations here. And this was your job, but there's people that their homes have been, through 3 generations and they don't want to leave. And most that I've talked to have resolved to saying, you know what, we're probably going to have to go. But that doesn't mean they want to go or they ever planned on going. This has just disrupted a lot of people's lives. Just like you would probably thought you were going to retire there, these people never thought that they were going to leave their homes.
I have a brother-in-law who lives on, what is that? Not Martin, Clark.
Okay, in East Palestine.
Yes. His wife has breathing issues. Anyways, since she is 24-hour-a-day oxygen dependent, they can't go back to their home. They cannot. I mean, they raise their babies there. Yeah. They raise their boys are all grown. They've got grandkids. They can't go back to their home. There's no plans for them to go back to their home because I don't think it'll ever be 100% clean of chemicals.
Yeah, I don't know how you could clean a home of all those chemicals. I really don't. Do you know, are they living in a hotel or something?
They're actually living with their youngest son right now.
Okay. And the furniture and things in their home are still there?
Yes.
Yeah, we had someone on earlier. We had an interview and Norfolk said, we'll throw away all your furniture. We'll give you money for new stuff. Well, sometimes you have an emotional attachment to certain keepsakes and things. And a lot of people are just told almost like everything's replaceable, and ultimately everything is, because your health is most important. But a lot of our people are being treated like, just replace it. It's no big deal. And that's emotionally hard too. I don't know about your brother-in-law, how they feel
They have
about
pictures of their grandkids in their house. I don't know if they've gotten those out. They've got things that they had when their boys were younger. I don't know if they've gotten those out. But yeah, you do have an emotional or physical attachment to something, and I don't know if they're ever going to be able to reconnect with their belongings.
Yeah. And how are you doing since you are feeling a lot better?
I am feeling better. I still have the runny nose, but other than that, and I'm still have a headache. I did have a headache this morning, but those are getting to be not as severe.
Before the incident, the bomb, the derailment and chemical bomb, were you prone to that many headaches?
No.
Okay. So that's definitely different.
No,
right?
you cured my headaches years ago.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's not a plug. But, so you're feeling better. Life is good. Do you have anything that you'd like to say? Anything to maybe to wrap this up, and what would you like everybody to know about what's gone on, and not just people in East Palestine, people across the world that watch these and are concerned about the people here?
Right. I just want the people of East Palestine to know, hey, don't give up hope, because there's a solution to every problem. We just haven't tapped into that solution yet. I think Norfolk needs to be more forthcoming as far as how they take care of everything. I mean, these people can't go back to their homes. Maybe they'll get lucky and Norfolk will do something for them. I just pray for them, because I'll tell you what, I love the people of East Palestine. I spent the last 7 years there with my job, and it just sickens me when they're hurt. It hurts me too.
Well, that's a good way to end. Do you have any? Is there anything else?
When we were working there, and we always said, hey, if the train never derails here, we might as well kiss our butts goodbye.
Yeah,
Well,
because
that
it's so
came
close.
really close.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that just failed? What, I don't know, like a quarter mile.
If it had, half the town would be gone, because there's 2 gas stations right there.
Yeah, then they would have blown. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think people are going to be shocked when they see how close the store is. I've traveled a lot. Have you seen a store like that close to
No.
I've never seen anything like that.
No. And when they were fixing the wall, they had that little retaining wall there. People were speculating that was part of it. But no, we asked them to fix that retaining wall, because that retaining wall was coming down, and we were afraid to park our cars close to it. So
it would because it would fall on your car?
Yes.
I don't remember a retaining wall.
Yeah, they fixed that retaining wall, which is very nice now.
So now I know what Brenda was talking about, the retaining wall. There was a wall here. It was pretty old. This is brand new. I'm remembering the little wall here. She was talking about it being old and about to fall on the cars. So this track is 7.5 feet from the back of this marathon station. And that car overhangs that track as well. So when these trains come, they are literally like 2 or 3 feet from that wall. All right, a little addition. I forgot that Brenda, well, she just reminded me, she asked me if I remembered the pictures that she sent me of the air cleaner in the intake for your, it's like a HEPA filter for
they call it a cabin filter.
Yes, a cabin filter.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and tell me about that.
I had it changed about a year ago, and my car wasn't smelling so good. So I popped it out again, and it was totally black. So if you're driving a car out there and you've been in this area, change that filter, because all you're doing is moving that chemical around in your car.
So I am doing a second interview with an independent tester that is coming again to East Palestine. Tell me you still have that.
I do still have it. It's in my car.
It's in your car? Do you want me to see if he'll test it?
Yeah.
Or is that something you want to try to do on your own?
No, if you would like to have it tested, I don't give it. It's not in a baggie though. You don't have to put it in a baggie. I have it in the box.
Okay. No, I'll put it in a baggie. Then I'll put a picture of that as well in the interview.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Now we'll end it.